NFL adjusted season win totals. Again, this is a whole new world the last few years. These didn't used to exist. First of all, season win totals. We think that this is, from the birth of Christ that season win totals has existed. No. Jimmy Vaccaro in 1989, some dude with a cowboy hat walked up and was like, the Cowboys were supposed to stink. And he goes, how many games do you think they're going to win this year? Jimmy was like, I don't know. I'll think about it for a little while. He thinks about it. He says 5.5. The guy goes way over. I think he went over. They ended up winning one game that year, 1989. They beat Washington, by the way. Doug Williams started that game for Washington. But that's when season win total started. Adjusted season win totals, the concept of having this go throughout the season week after week, this is like 3 years old in legalized sports betting.
I will never forget the day when I told Gill Alexander that DraftKings had him posted to talk about it.
Oh.
You were like, what? What are you talking about?
Yes.
They have them posted. We used to do this all the time. I've never seen it legalized anywhere. This is incredible.
For those who listen to the Betting Dork and Beating the Book podcast for years, I used to talk about this. I've got this off-the-grid stock market, win totals thing that I do. Okay, so getting right to it. You asked me this question off the cuff yesterday, right? And off the cuff, you're like, oh, what do you think a great adjusted season win total will be? Off the cuff, I said the Arizona Cardinals over 4.5. Mm-hmm. Okay, that was without researching anything.
Yeah.
I still think that's a good answer. I have a couple better ones, though, I think.
All right.
Now, Kelley and I don't usually talk about what we're going to talk about because we like to keep it loose and sort of honest and organic on the show. But it just so happened that before this show, we somehow drifted into both of us doing research on this last night, and it came up that we both came to the same conclusion about the NFC South. What we mean by that is your instinct is to say, oh, my God, Atlanta Falcons, 9.5, that seems like an under. And you can apply this to different teams in the NFC South. Their schedules are so easy that you can't make a bet on, like, the Falcons, the Saints, or the Buccaneers because those schedules are so they're so easy that your instinct to go under, while they may still happen, you're just like, I don't know. Like, it's just what's the opposite of a gauntlet? Whatever that is. It's just like every week is
a cakewalk.
Yeah, a cakewalk. There you go. Now, I will make this one exception, and this is one of the ones that I like better than the Arizona Cardinals. The Panthers to the under. I'm the guy with the Panthers winless, right? The Panthers to the under is still something that I think you have to consider. What's the Panthers number? 4.5, is it right now?
4.5 right now. I don't know about you, but
how are you getting 5 wins?
It's going to be tough.
How are you getting 5 wins on that schedule?
Unless Bryce Young starts looking like a completely different I don't even want to put it all on him. Like, nobody would have guessed that Adam Thielen would be by far their best wide receiver because nobody else can get any separation whatsoever. And Bryce Young, when he's in there, is struggling massively. There's issues on this offensive line. I expected the defense to be better. It's not.
At Detroit, at Miami, bye. Okay. I think you're 0 for there. And then here's the rest of your year. Can you get 5 wins out of this? Home Houston, home Indianapolis, at Chicago. Okay. Let's even give them 2 there.
Okay.
Home Dallas, at Tennessee, at Tampa, at New Orleans, home Atlanta, home Green Bay, at Jacksonville, at Tampa Bay. Could you? You could, but I think the instinct has to be under.
I think so. I think so too, but it just goes back to the whole NFC South conversation of I'm not super confident in any of these teams.
It is an easy schedule. It's a super easy schedule.
Like, could they pick 1 or 2 of those off?
Now, here's the real answer to the question. So those are just like Arizona's off the cuff. Carolina's just on a perusal thing where you're like, oh, those seem like they're great adjusted season win totals. Arizona to the over, Carolina to the under. But the way to really do this is to see where the market improperly adjusted or did not adjust. And so from last week to this week, the team that sort of raises, a flag, or sort of makes you, what's the expression, lift your eyebrow or raise your eyebrows about is, and this is not going to be sexy to some people, the Tennessee Titans were 8.5 last week. They end up beating the Cincinnati Bengals badly as a dog, by the way, and they're still at 8.5. The Tennessee Titans, and by the way, the over and plus money, the over is still plus money on the Tennessee Titans. So for me, the answer to this question, where the best value actually lies, forget about my off-the-cuff opinions about the Cardinals over and the Panthers under, is actually Titans to the over, who are currently 2-2, and their adjusted season win total is 8.5, because it did not get adjusted from last week when they were an underdog to the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you go to the Titans, to their schedule right here, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, God, Titans over. I don't want to live through that. Hey, I didn't say this was going to be fun.
Yeah, that's me.
But if you go to the Titans schedule, the games before their bye, at Indianapolis, home Baltimore, home Atlanta, at Pittsburgh right after the bye. Should we give them a 2-2 there? 2-2.
At least, yeah.
Let's give them a 2-2. Let's be conservative.
Yeah, I'm about as big of a Titans hater as it gets, and I'll give them 2-2.
Okay, so that's 4-4. Let's go to the next 4 games. At Tampa, at Jacksonville, home Carolina, home Indianapolis. I mean, that's a 2-2 at worst, it feels like.
2-2 there.
All right, so that's 6-6. They only got to win 3 more in their last 5. At Miami, home Houston, home Seattle, at Houston. So there's 2 Houston games in there. And then home Jacksonville to close it out. Based on the lack of adjustment in the adjusted season win total market, I think the answer to the question is the Tennessee Titans over. Because there's no reason why that number should have stayed at 8.5 after beating the Bengals. Your thoughts, sir?
Okay, that was not one I picked up on.
Yeah.
Not one that jumped out to me, but
that is the way to do this, right?
don't.
Look at what the numbers were last week, figure out what appropriately adjusted, what did not, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that two of the teams that I isolated, they are 2 teams that I bet unders on already this season, and the numbers just really haven't moved a whole lot through 4 games, where I think the perception of what I had about these teams before the season has played out much more in reality. It's the Patriots and the Steelers. So you're looking at win totals for both of those teams. Patriots set at 7.5, Steelers set at 8.5. That's right about where they were preseason. And the Steelers are having all kinds of offensive problems. Both these teams having all kinds of offensive problems. The defenses haven't looked bad, but you just start, bringing up the schedules, and it's trying to figure out where each one of these teams is going to get 7 more wins. And it's tough. I mean, Patriots, you've got Saints at home, on the road at the Raiders, Bills at home, on the road at the Dolphins. That's 2-2 at best to me, Gill. You got home against Commanders, home against the Colts, at the Giants, home against the Chargers, at the Steelers, home against Chiefs, at the Broncos, at the Bills, Jets at home. It's hard for me to come up with 7 more wins on that schedule to get over 7.5, and it's basically the same thing with the Steelers. So I'm being pretty boring here because I'm going back to 2 that I played already, so I'm not going to be adding on here. I did say, since we're both betting the Cardinals this week, I think Cardinals over 4.5.
Yeah.
Betting it this week
yeah.
is so correlated.
Because I think they might win that game.
Yeah. You almost have to play that.
I had the same reaction to the 2 that I had pre-flop. So I had the Giants alternate low under 6.5 at plus 185. Well, they're 5.5 now.
Right, yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, Giants 5.5. I have got it way better 4 weeks ago at plus money at an even higher number. And then with Washington, I had the alternate win total on the over, which was 7.5. It's still 7.5, but my over 7.5 is plus 190. So that number is not nearly as good as it was then. Do I think it's probably still good? Yeah, but it's not a bet because, again, it's not the big bang for your buck.
No, I hear you. But if I hadn't, I don't know about you, if I hadn't bet Pittsburgh and New England unders before the season, I would be betting.
You would still do it. Okay. It's fascinating to look at each and every week. These are adjusted. And as the runway gets shorter, the value, which is already pretty sparse, to be honest with you, will dwindle even further.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.